There we go.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Dan Bates, President and CEO, Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. And we are so glad you could join us today on Coffee and Conversations. Today we have a great guest, and you will get to meet him in just a few minutes. But anyway, so I'm Dan Bates. You know who I am. We're going to find out who all of you are in just a minute. Let me tell you the protocol. Those of you that are on Zoom can ask questions of the speaker or type them into the chat box. If you're on Facebook Live, you can ask those questions through Tiffany and she will repeat them to the speaker and then he can answer them for you. So with that being said, we're going to introduce David Hood in just a minute. But Laura, you want to go ahead and do some self-introductions?
Yes, that'd be great. Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura Merrill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber. We'll just go around the screen. Please tell me your name and what company you're with. Susan, we will start with you.
My name is Susan Saunders, and I'm actually a stay-at-home mom, wife. I volunteer with two different youth groups. One is a Lakota robotics team, and the second one is the Hamilton Millennium Assembly number 10, International Order of the Rainbow for Girls. And we are a Masonic youth organization that looks for service opportunities in and around the greater Hamilton area.
Wonderful. Glad to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Jessica?
Good morning. My name is Jessica Gillespie. I work at Edge Webware. We are a family-owned and operated web service company, so web design, application, digital marketing.
Great. Glad to see you with us today. Rachel?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rachel Harding. I work with Envision Partnerships, a nonprofit prevention agency here in Hamilton, and I lead the Healthy Hamilton Coalition. So the current grant we're under focuses on youth substance abuse, but we are always looking for new grants for the upcoming years. And we know that the homeless issue is an issue here in Hamilton, and it's one that we do try to make initiatives around and help out with. And so I'm very interested to hear what we're going to learn today. This is my first time dialing in on my phone, so I apologize for any tech issues I may experience, but I'm happy to be here.
Great. You're doing fine. Not a problem. Thank you, Rachel. Robin? Oh, no audio. Okay, so welcome, Robin. We're glad to have you with us. And she's with Executive Security. And Christopher?
My name is Christopher Boyd. I'm an intern here with the Hamilton Chambers of Commerce.
Great. And Tiffany?
Good morning. I'm Tiffany Grubb, Director of Membership and Marketing at the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
All right. Dan, do you have anything you want to elaborate on now?
Absolutely. I want to introduce David because we all want to get to what he has to say. We're in for a treat. I've heard David speak a couple times before, and we want him to have as much opportunity as possible to get the message out. He's the Executive Director of Surf City, which is a faith-based outreach center in Hamilton, Ohio, and that is dedicated to serving the needs of low-income and homeless individuals and families. And he is perfectly suited to this because David is a former pastor and has been a pastor in challenged communities before. So he's used to challenges and hard work. And I'm not going to take too much of his steam away, but I know that he believes in compassion, resources, and hope are critical to helping our homeless and hungry neighbors find the abundant life they are seeking. So he's going to talk to you about the difference probably between a pond and a river and all that kind of stuff. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce David Hood. Thanks, David, for joining us.
So I so much appreciate the invitation, Dan, and it's very interesting. When I was in the church every week, I had to have something different to say. Now that I'm speaking to different groups every week, I have one speech and you've heard it 3 times. All right, well, thank you again. Should I just jump right in?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Great. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just so we have a couple of visuals to go with. hopefully that will be helpful. Again, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity to be a part of what this community is doing and be connected with the chamber. I'm so thankful to Dan for all the invitations and introductions that he has made for me. I'm not a native Hamiltonian or from Butler County, and so getting connected with folks is a real passion of mine, and telling the Serve City story, letting folks know what's going on. One of the things I hear over and over and over again when I tell our story is, wow, I'd heard of Serve City, but I didn't realize all of that was going on. So let me just share a little bit. I hope that this will be an interactive type of conversation. So if you have questions along the way, certainly please feel free to pop in and ask or get some clarification. We'll certainly also have a chance to do that at the end as well. So Serve City has been around for over 2 decades. It started as a group of churches that came together and just said, hey, what are the needs in this community and how can we fill those? And so we've been here in Hamilton for over 20 years. But our founding director that started Serve City, some of you may have met Linda Kimball, amazing woman who just started Serve City out of her passion and her desire to serve this community. She passed away a year or so ago, and so Serve City's board brought in a whole new leadership team. And so what we're saying that, you know, though we get to build on the great foundation of the previous 20 years, it is a new day at Serve City. We have new leadership and new vision and new ideas, new systems and structures. We even have a new logo in place, although I do wish we still had that van. That is the coolest van. Am I lying? How many of you would love to drive that van? That is such an iconic piece of Serve City history and just kind of our organic origins of just figuring out from day to day, how do we serve our neighbors best? Let me tell you a little bit more about myself. As Dan mentioned, I spent 20 years in the church, so it's always a dangerous thing to hand me a microphone. But I'm looking forward to this new set of challenges. When my wife and I became empty nesters, we kind of asked the question, you know, what do we want to do for the rest of our lives? And our thought was, boy, we really want to spend our time really making a difference in the lives of people who have experienced real challenges. And so when Serve City called, we thought, wow, this is the best opportunity for us. The first month I arrived at Serve City back in August of 2020, myself and the Serve City board kind of got together and said, all right, you know, this is who we've been for 20 years. Who do we want to be in the next 20 years? And we had a series of strategic planning meetings and identity discovery meetings to really build on our foundation, but help us to move into a new future. And so I just want to share with you our purpose statement, that our purpose at Serve City, the reason we exist, is to step into the gaps with our neighbors who are hurting and in need, and provide for basic human needs. And for us, when we say basic human needs, that is a holistic approach to healing and hope for people. It involves the spiritual and the mental, the physical, the financial, the relational, the educational, and we could go way on, the employable, all of that kind of stuff. So we are really interested in working one-on-one, individually, not in a cookie cutter kind of way, but working with every person's unique challenges and abilities, working under an asset-based mentality, recognizing that all people have gifts and talents and grace and possibilities in their lives, and that my job is not to give them something they don't have, but my job is to help them discover something that they may have forgotten. So we're really excited to be able to do that. Michael, you're my new hero now. You know, you and me are like this now. So let me pause for just a second. I got a lot more I want to share with you about our programs, but I'd just love to pause and hear from you all about either your perceptions in your community about homelessness and hunger. You know, what have you seen? What have you heard? What have you felt around the issues of homelessness and hunger, your experiences with those? And perhaps also, what have you heard about Serve City? So I'd just love to hear from you all. And by the way, when I ask the question, what have you all heard about Serve City? I'd love to know good, bad, and ugly. All right, because I recognize everybody has a perception, and part of our job in telling our story is to help correct some of the incorrect perceptions in the community. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Who'd like to share first? Go ahead, Michael.
Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Everyone can hear me? Okay, I think I'm on.
We can.
Okay, excellent. Before I even get started here, I hope everybody's having an absolute wonderful morning, man. It's a beautiful day out today. I'll jump right in and just say that first and foremost, David, this is the first time I have heard anything about Serve City. And this is just hitting me right between the eyes, man. This is absolutely beautiful. I will say the reason that it is resonating with me so much is on a few different notes. One, to kind of segue into your other question of, experience of, or just perception of, the different dysfunctions going on in our communities of hunger and homelessness and so on and so forth, is that I personally have an extremely powerful testimony with the household I grew up in. I was that child that, my parents were severely on drugs. We didn't have a whole lot to eat. My brothers and I were basically fending for ourselves. We started off growing up down on the west side of Price Hill in Cincinnati. It was very rough. But I just want to add that whether if it's, in Cincinnati, Hamilton, Middletown, wherever it's at, we see these same issues. And so, it really strikes or rather invokes an emotional response out of me, in my leadership capabilities and the anointing that God has put on me to, be a part of this somehow, whether if it's, through a professional lens on somehow trying to integrate, the mission for the kingdom that I have going on, that I'm assigned to, or even personally, as Michael Taylor getting involved in these things, because I just see a huge need, and really kind of dial in too, specifically on the city of Hamilton. I have deep roots in the city of Hamilton with my great grandparents and so on and so forth. And, I just am one of many, of course, that see, the potential and the growth, economically speaking, community speaking, that is happening right now. And it's just a beautiful thing. But yeah, and kind of to loop, back around full circle, David, I just love this, brother. I mean, just even some of the power words, the buzzwords, if you will, that you're hitting on is just, definitely feeling some Holy Spirit here, and seeing a vision that is much bigger than any one of us, and that always gets me very, very excited.
Good. Well, Michael, we're gonna talk a little bit about how to get you connected with and everybody connected with serving and engaging with Serve City here in a bit. Anybody else want to share their experiences with or perceptions of homelessness and hunger in your community, or what you've heard about Serve City?
I will, David. I think most people in Hamilton have heard of Serve City, but I really wasn't familiar with exactly what they did and how they did it. So thanks to you, I've been educated and also have taken a tour. So, but I think the bigger issue, which I'm sure you're going to address, is I think the perception is homelessness is something that is perpetual. We can't do anything about it. And, the programs that are in place perpetuate the problem as opposed to moving the needle, so to speak. So that's kind of my perception.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else?
I think Rachel had put something in the chat box. Let's see here. She said, I recently heard Serve City is a crucial community center that Hamilton needs more of.
Wow, that's good to hear. Good. All right. Last chance. All right. Well, let me tell you a little bit about what Serve City does if you're not really acquainted with our current programming. We have a number of areas and ways in which we try to serve our neighbors. And the first one is our food pantry. We serve over 15,000 people in Hamilton and Butler County every year. One of the things that makes our food pantry unique is that we have a large walk-in cooler and large walk-in freezer so that we can serve more than just non-perishables and canned foods, but we can serve fresh vegetables and fresh meat, dairy, a whole variety of foods. In 2021, rather than kind of shutting things down and slowing things down, we actually tripled our hours because we knew the need was out there for our neighbors. And even though there was so many of these other government programs, we knew those were going to be temporary. And so we used that opportunity to ramp up our processes and ability to serve folks. And so we are still one of the only pantries in Butler County that has gone back to a choice model, which means we don't just hand you a box of food, but we let you shop for food. So if you don't like green beans, you don't have to eat green beans, and that type of thing. And one of the reasons we do that, and that's so important to us, we get a little bit of negative feedback because we have volunteers that walk with our neighbors who are shopping to help them, get the right products and that type of thing. And sometimes that can feel a bit intrusive to some folks. I imagine none of us would want to have that happen at Kroger. But for us, we want our food pantry not to be just a transactional thing, but a relational thing. And it's really important to us that, that we're not just handing you a box of food and saying good luck, but that while you're at the food pantry, we're learning your story and we're hearing who you are and what brought you to us in the first place. And so that we can perhaps begin to address not only your immediate hunger, but the reason the refrigerator was empty in the first place, and help you work with the resources that are available. We brought in kind of a rock star to help us with this. Her name is Jackie Bouvette. She's our business operations director, but she also has several years of experience working with the Free Store Food Bank. And so she has really helped overhaul our food pantry ministry in a way that has helped us to serve more people, to reach out into our community deeper. And she's even beginning to dream about how do we take the pantry on the road? We can serve anybody who can get to us. But what about those shut-ins, those folks who can't get to us, those folks for whom transportation is a challenge? And so we're beginning to dream now about a food pantry on the go kind of model that we're kind of excited about. Another one of our ministries that's relatively new, we call it our overnight shelter. And our overnight shelter is 15 to 20 beds that we opened last winter on Christmas Day. And really, we opened it as a response to the coming cold weather and the reality that because of COVID, many of the winter shelters that typically operate during the winter were not going to operate. And we just couldn't stomach the fact that people were going to be out in the cold. And so we, with very little plan and very little organization, kind of decided that every night we're going to tear down all our dining room tables and set up cots. And every morning we're going to tear down those cots and put the tables back up and create an extra space for folks who are just looking for a night or two out of the cold. This is not a long-term shelter. This is just that place where if you're, maybe you're headed to rehab in a couple of days and you need a place to stay. Maybe you're working on a reconciliation with your family and you just need a place to stay for a couple of days. That's our overnight shelter. It's also a place where people who are looking to access our more long-term solution programs can begin that process. And so every night we put out a sign-up list, and the first 15 or 20 folks who sign up on that list not only get a bed for the night, but they get dinner and breakfast in the morning. And we try to utilize that opportunity to build relationships, again, a relational versus a transactional type of thing, so that we can find out from folks who are willing, how can we help? What resources could we direct you to? What are the obstacles you're facing, and how might we be able to come around and behind you and support you? At Serve City, when I got to Serve City, we kind of had a philosophical shift, and we decided that we wanted to be, as Dan mentioned earlier, we wanted to be a river, not a pond. We want to be, a pond's a really nice place to come and stay for a bit, but you can only doggy paddle so long before you drown. Right. And so for us, we didn't want to just be that place you come and stay for a bit and until you try to go to the next place and you time out at our place, go to the next place, time out at their place, go to the next place. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to be a river that when you got to Serve City, there is so much momentum and so much support and so much encouragement that you can't help but move forward. And so we brought in another rock star. Her name is Heather Smith, and Heather is our residential director, and she has 20 plus years of social work experience. And she has been working with us to build a holistic, comprehensive system that helps people move from homelessness to housing stability, given their unique sets of circumstances. And we call that program our Move Forward Housing Stability Program. It is, again, designed to intentionally move people forward rather than just housing them for a bit. So let me tell you some of the components of our Move Forward program. If you come to the overnight shelter, we're going to introduce you to that Move Forward program, and we're going to invite you, if you're willing, to do the work, because it is work to move from homelessness to housing stability. And if you're willing to commit to the plan, then we're going to move you into what we call our residential shelter. And our residential shelter is, we can house 40 men and now 14 women, as we've done some moving of beds around, still maintaining some social distancing and health protocols, where residents can stay for 90 to 180 days, where they can work every day with a counselor, where they can meet with a case manager, where they can get medical support, where they can deal with, we say at the residential shelter, we're going to help you deal with the rocks in your river, right? Those things that are keeping you dammed up. And we're going to start at the very base level. For many of our residents, the biggest challenge they have is they don't have an ID. They don't have a driver's license, a state ID. And when you don't have an ID, you don't qualify for any of the resources that are available to you in the community. And so that's one we work on a lot. About 90% of our residents come to us with either mental health challenges or addiction challenges, most of them both. And so as we engage folks, we are, some of our professionals there are doing health assessments to find out if mental health support or addiction support is necessary for this particular person to move forward. We are the only 24/7, 365-day-a-year homeless shelter in Butler County. Others have different work differently. Still good things to have and good resources in the community. But Serve City's residential shelter is kind of that place you begin to work on your basic challenges, whatever those might be. From there, we move people into our transitional living apartments. We have two sets of apartments, one for group living, where we have 48 spots. It's 12 apartments, 4 to an apartment. And there you're starting to work on a little bit of a higher level. Now you're starting to work rather than on mental health and addiction, although you're probably still working on those things. Now you're also working on employment, and you're working on education, and you're working on family reunification, and some of those higher level kinds of challenges that people face, and job skills and all of those types of things. And then from our group living apartments, you move over to our independent living apartments. And those we have 26 efficiency apartments. They're a little small, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom kind of deals where people, many of whom have only lived outside for a long time, can begin working on the skills of self-sufficiency. While you're in our apartments, you're going to learn how to pay rent. You're going to sign a lease. These are leased apartments. And so part of our goal is to train people how to live, survive, and thrive outside of Serve City. Remember, being a river, not a pond. And so Through all of these steps, from the residential shelter to the group living apartments to our independent living apartments, we have on-site counseling, therapy, case management, medical support for our residents. And all of that is designed to help them deal with whatever challenges they had that brought them to Serve City. So when you look at the entirety of Serve City, just the housing portion of Serve City, I already said the Pantry serves about 15,000 a year. In our housing section of Serve City, we can serve about 148 people a day, every day, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. So that is our Move Forward program is really designed to help people from whatever point A looks like, help them get to happy, healthy, and safe places outside of Serve City. And I'm going to talk about some of the challenges around that here in just a moment. The last program I want to mention is kind of still in the making, but it's called our Resource Connection Program. And what we've realized is that not everyone in Butler County who needs help is hungry or homeless, right? And so some people just need help navigating the Social Security system, which is can be a real challenge. Some people need help applying for food stamps. Some people need help getting addiction treatment or mental health treatment. They have a home and they have food in the refrigerator, but they need help in other areas of their lives. And what we realized is these are things we do every day with our residents. And we've become kind of experts at that. We're pretty good at helping getting people connected to the resources they need. And so we're beginning now to work on a plan to be able to offer our expertise and our connections and our networks and our partnerships and our resources, not only to the residents we serve here at Serve City, but to our community at large. You know, that if they need some help accessing some system or process, that Serve City is there to help walk them through that. And it's also going to serve as a support system for our Move Forward graduates. Those who move out from Serve City onto their own, we recognize that might not be the last challenge in their life they have. You know, they might lose a job. They might have another challenge where they need some help. And so Serve City Resource Connection is going to be there to become their safety net even after they've moved out. Before I move on to this next part, any questions about what we do or how we do it? I want to tell you in a minute why we do it, but any questions about what we do or how we do it? Either it's early or that was a really good explanation. One of those two. I'm going with number two. So this is why we do what we do. Homelessness and hunger are a humanitarian crisis in our communities. It is a public health crisis. It destroys livelihoods, resources, it creates community instability. It is a challenge for every community that deals with homelessness and hunger. Needs to recognize it as a humanitarian crisis. These are our neighbors. And our family members and our friends that are struggling, and we as a community have a responsibility to support them. Accurate statistics are a little hard to find in Butler County, but I went out and looked at statistics for Ohio as a whole, and according to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, Ohio has a shortage of affordable and available homes for extremely low income renters in excess of 252,000 units. And Butler County is no exception. I mentioned earlier that our whole plan is to get people ready to live outside of Serve City. The challenge is when there are no places for them to go when they're ready, our whole system kind of breaks down. And so we're working on that. I'll chat a little bit more about that in a minute. The other reality that we're faced with is, according to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, the average cost of one homeless person to a community is $35,758 a year. You know, if you, according to that same group, in 2020, there were about 10,655 homeless persons on any given night in Ohio at an annual cost of $381 million to the state of Ohio. So when I'm talking to funders, or I'm talking to potential donors, or I'm talking to people writing grants, or whatever it is I'm doing, I often tell folks, listen, at the end of the day, we're going to pay for homelessness on the front end or the back end. You know, it is an expensive deal. It is expensive to the community to ignore it. It's expensive to deal with it, but it's less so. I kind of extrapolated those Ohio statistics down to just Butler County based on population percentages. And just here in Butler County, if those statistics are correct, we spend about $12.6 million every year on homelessness. And that includes 100 things. It includes first responder calls. It includes hospital stays, lost revenue for local businesses, social benefits, substance abuse and mental health treatment, crime. You know, all of those things factor into that cost assessment for our homeless neighbors. Serve City believes that these statistics are not a sad inevitability for Butler County. We believe that it is a challenge, and this is certainly a challenge that Butler County is facing. Not being a long-term Butler County member, you know, I'm kind of being new to the community. I am learning that often we have a perception of ourselves that is challenged when it begins to include homeless persons or people who are hungry. And so what part of our role is to help educate our community that our neighbors, our family members, our community members, there are members of our community who are struggling. And we are here as a community to help. So like I said, it's a new day at Serve City, and we want to help the very best way we possibly can. We want to partner with as many community stakeholders as we can, because we know Serve City cannot do this work by ourselves. We need you. We need every member of our community to say, hey, how can I help? What can I do? How can I be a part? And we especially want to partner with those of you who have a deep heart and a passion for our neighbors who are hurting and in need. Let me share with you just real quick a couple of pieces of kind of where we believe Serve City might be going in the future. Some of our short-term and long-term initiatives. Serve City, one of the bigger ones, is that Serve City desperately needs to relocate. I'd love to invite you guys to come and take a tour of our current facility. The building we're in, we've been in for about 20 years, and it was an old car mechanics shop and car dealership. And it was not built to be to house people, nor was it built to serve a community large amounts of food. And so we have a dream. We believe that though we've utilized our current facility to the uttermost of its ability over the last 20 years, in order to really take that next step and to effectively serve our community, we need to move. Not out of this community, maybe not even off of East Avenue. I mean, it's important for us to stay where the need is. But we need a facility that is designed to help us do the work that we do. And so whether that means building brand new or moving into and renovating a facility, we're exploring both of those options at this point. But we are dreaming and visioning 3-5-year plans around a new Serve City location and facility that is designed to better serve our neighbors. Let me give you one example of that. Currently, I think I showed you a picture earlier of one of our housing units. It's kind of a large room with rows and rows of bunk beds. You know, kind of you imagine like an army barracks kind of style of living. That's how our rooms are currently. Studies have shown that is probably the least effective way to house homeless residents, because often you're putting victimizers in with victims in the same room. You're putting people who are in different parts of their recovery journey in the room together, and you're putting predators in with people who are more vulnerable. And so we really want to move towards a more dorm style or pod style of living, where we can put people who are in similar places in their journey together as support systems and protect them a little better. Because what we don't want to do is have our facility add to people's trauma. And that's a sad reality in the homeless world. So one big vision for the future is that we need to move to a new location. The other one, and we talk about this a lot, I mentioned it earlier, is that the way I phrase it is we need to open the back door. When I got to Serve City, we opened the front door wide open. We serve a large portion of our community. We lowered our restrictions, and we, kind of welcomed our community in for those who needed our help. Our challenge is that we can put you through our process, and we can be pretty successful at doing that. But if there's no place for you to go outside of Serve City, then the back door is closed, and the river is dammed up at the back end. And so we are really advocating for either Serve City or some other organization or the city itself to build more permanent supportive housing. And hear me when I say permanent supportive housing is not just building a housing project, but I mean building low-income housing that is designed to offer support services to its residents to continue them, helping them on their journey of becoming self-sufficient and productive members of our community. And so those are the kind of the two big pieces that as we look down the road, Serve City is really dreaming about how can we engage these two big things. Last thing I want to say before I open it up, and I hope that you all will just flood me with questions and all kinds of or clarifications or whatever. But I wanted to let you know how you can help, because I know all of you are sitting there going, man, I need to be a part of what is happening at Serve City. How can I help? Well, I'm really glad you asked, because there are lots of ways you can help. The first way is just help us tell our story. I'm guessing that some of you have heard some things about Serve City you hadn't heard before. Part of, people that I don't know. And you have networks, and you have relationships, and you have professional circles full of people who could get really passionate about what Serve City does. But unless I'm able to tell them our story, they may never know, right? And so I just want to ask you to be thinking about who in your circle, who in your world, who at your job, who in your family, who in your church, who in your community needs to hear what Serve City is doing. And would you make an invitation? Would you make an introduction to me? Send them an email and copy me on and say, hey, I heard this guy, he has all kinds of crazy cool things going on at Serve City. I wanted to introduce the two of you. If you would do that for me, that would be an incredibly large help for us at Serve City, because we believe that we're not in a transaction game, we're in a relationship game. And as we build more relationships, we're able to help more people. The other way to help is just by getting involved and invested. In the chat, I put an email address of a guy named Jeff Gambrell. He's our volunteer coordinator, and Jeff is a guru at getting connected with folks, learning where their passions are, and helping them live out their volunteer passions through Serve City. And so I'd love for you to reach out to him and say, hey, I want to find out how me or my group can get involved. I'd also like to invite you. Some of you have talents in some of the things that we do. You may know something about food delivery or caregiving to our homeless population that you could provide some expertise to Serve City. And then finally, I also want to say, and I'm never shy of asking, some of you have financial resources that could really help Serve City. And so I just always want to put it out there that every dollar that gets donated to Serve City makes a difference. It changes lives. It truly enhances the lives of our neighbors and changes our community in positive ways. We've talked a lot about the growth of the city of Hamilton. And a lot of that is due to the work of the chamber and some of the amazing things that are happening. I was at the State of the City address and just was so excited to hear all the things that I was hearing. I also know that we grow as a community and that, as the water rises, all ships rise. But as those who are struggling, we cannot be a fully functioning, healthy community unless we're also looking at those in need, not just those who are on the top. And so I want to encourage everyone, whether it's Serve City or whether it's connecting in some other ministry or organization around Hamilton, to keep that holistic view of community as well, that we grow and sync together as a community. So I'll shut up now, but I would really love to hear from you all. Questions, comments. Did you learn anything? Did anything feel weird, or you tell me? Yes.
Thank
And
you.
by the way, Susan, you and I need to get together. My granddaughter is trying to get into that robotics thing that you just talked about, and she's super excited about it. So when you said that, I was like, oh, I got to connect with her.
Yeah, that one's a fun one. Our Rainbow Assembly is out of the Hamilton Masonic Temple. Okay. There on Main Street, High Street, right? And I too am not a Hamilton native. My husband and I moved to the area about 25 years ago. So, but for our organization, we're always looking for things that the girls can do. Help sponsor a family for Christmas, do food drives, do clothing drives, things like that. And the only thing that I thank you for putting Jeff's email out there. I will make sure that I email him a little bit later this afternoon, is that because we work with youth ages 6 through 20, a lot of times we can't come in and do the volunteering, like serving the food or helping you pick up and clean up things, because we don't know. And I hate to bring the stupid evil underbelly up, is we don't know who are sex offenders and who aren't. And we need to protect the girls in our organization. So I'm sure that you have things that we can do, or some way that we can be of some help without actually physically coming in contact with some of the people, because I notice it is all adults.
Sure. So
that would be a very difficult situation on our end.
Right. So let me give you just a couple of pieces on that. I really appreciate that. We do have groups that church groups and otherwise that bring, when they come and serve dinner, will bring their kids and grandkids. We always say, Serve City is not a safe place for children alone. It is a safe place, however, for children with proper adult supervision. We do every intake we do, every person who comes into Serve City goes through an intake process. And one of the barriers, we have a set of service boundaries. So with people we can serve and people we cannot. And one of the populations that are currently excluded from us being able to serve them are sex offenders. And so just FYI on that. However, I will also say, yes, there are a million ways to serve at Serve City, both on-site and off-site. Jeff just recently organized a toilet paper drive. You cannot believe the amount of toilet paper we go through at Serve City. If I don't get 3 emails a day about toilet paper, it's a miracle. So there are literally a million ways to serve. We've had groups who've done sock drives, groups who have done put together care packages for residents, groups that have put together prepared lunches for about 80% of our residents go to work every day. I know that's a surprise to some folks, but most of them are employed, although mostly underemployed.
Right.
So they prepare sack lunches, and literally there are hundreds of ways for your group to get connected with Serve City and serve either on-site or off-site.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'd love to chat with you more about that. And Jeff is our rock star who can do that. Who else?
Good morning.
Jessica.
Great presentation, and you
Thank you.
did a very good job. So it was awesome. Is there a list, like I know throughout the weeks you probably have certain specific needs in the food pantry? Is there a list somewhere out there online of these are the things we really need this week, or anything like that? I know you said toilet paper is like an always need, but
Always need, yes. As a matter of fact, on our website, let me see if I can share this with you real quick. New share. Can you see my website now?
yeah.
Yes.
All right, so on our website, there's this Make a Difference tab, and you can donate items, donate financially. But if you go to donate items, you'll see here we have an Amazon wish list. You'll see our most needed items for canned goods and non-perishables, for bedding, personal items, all of that kind of stuff. And so we try to keep that list as updated as we can, so that people know, because it changes from season to season. Right now we are moving into the winter season. So hoodies, winter coats, socks, those types of things are big items that we need today that we didn't need in May. And so that, those things, but some of those things are pretty staple all the time.
On that note, for like gloves and hats and coats, is brand new or is gently used okay?
So we will take gently used. We have had some challenges in the past with how people define gently, so we always tell people that if it doesn't meet our standard, we may have to donate their donation. But because we're not going to provide things that could we're careful about like used hats, spreading lice and those types of things, but so we get somewhat picky, but we do accept some gently used items when it's appropriate. Probably not going to give away gently used socks or underwear though, just saying. Other thoughts or questions or anything I can help with? Yeah, Michael.
Just feedback, Dave, man. I mean, you were awesome. I mean, I echo what Jessica said. Your presentation was just stellar, man. Your confidence, but of course, even more importantly, just your vision and your passion for what you're doing. And, I believe that this in itself, feedback from each other, is extremely important for us that are stepping up to the plate and are giving our heart and soul and mind, to creating positive change in our community and in our world.
Sure. Thanks, Michael.
So yeah, absolutely, brother. No, thank you. And also that I just, I'm a firm believer, man. A huge philosophy of mine is servant leadership. I believe that is absolutely where we're going in the world too. It's seeing more and more leaders step up. That it truly wears, servant leadership. And with that said, even the name of the organization, Serve City, is just really, really cool. Yeah, I just love what you guys are doing. Actually, here I'm looking at some notes too, man. And I did think of one thing when you were talking about the produce and how you guys offer things like that. And I don't know if you guys are already thought of this, but I'm gonna totally throw it out there. But 80 Acres Farms, man, is a wonderful organization that is doing extremely well right now. In and out of Hamilton, Ohio. And I don't know, that there may be something there, some kind of strategic alliance. Maybe they, want to get involved, and that could just, spiral in a couple of really good directions. In my mind, where I don't know, but I just As
Yeah.
we all know, that's how things work. You start knocking on doors, and next thing you know, you might have people, that want to invest, that are in the corner of 80 acres into Serve City.
Right.
So
Well,
I
Michael,
did look at that. Yeah.
You're reading our mind on that. We have reached out to 80 acres and had some preliminary conversations that, just kind of introducing ourselves and that type of thing. And so you're reading our minds right there.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah. Yep. But no, yeah, and I'll end there, man. You were awesome. God bless you, man, for real, and everything that you're doing. And definitely want to connect with you here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
On a personal level, and see what we can do, see what I can do, and see what I can bring to the table, and get involved. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Michael. Yeah, I told someone the other day that this year and a half that I've spent at Serve City has probably been the most challenging professional year and a half of my life. And I've done I've planted churches in some challenging communities, however, as hard and as challenging and as emotionally and physically exhausting some days as it can be, I get to tell people every single day, I get to go home and I get to say, today we helped somebody. Today, somebody's life is a little better because Serve City exists and people have connected with Serve City and are supporting it. One of my favorite stories is I was over at in the shelter a couple of months ago, and I was doing gotten a bunch of donations, and about 50% of our financial support comes from individual donations in the community, and it comes in the form of $25 checks. I get stacks of them, and so I had this stack of these little $25 checks that I was putting into our database, and one of the residents came by and said, hey, what is all that? And I got to say, do you see all these people? And I was like flipping through the checks. None of these people know you, but all of these people care enough about you to sacrifice. And so all of these people want you to succeed. All of these people are rooting for you and are in your corner. And it was just, you could just see the light bulb behind his eyes. Like, I had no clue, his experience with community had not been a positive one. And so being able to understand that there were some people behind him who cared enough about him to sacrifice for him without ever even knowing him was a pretty big deal. All right, anyone else?
David, I see someone in the comment asked if there is a link to the PowerPoint presentation, or if you could send that to Laura. We can email that out to everyone who attended.
Yeah, I can certainly send that to you, and you guys can put it out there for sure.
Okay, thank you.
They just want a picture of that cool van. I'm sure that's what it is.
I would totally drive that van around.
I'm telling you. Can't believe we got rid of that thing.
Well, David, thank you so much for being with us today. If anybody has any questions, David put his information in the chat box. We can definitely get that out to anyone, share some information. I already got an email from someone who is sorry they missed. They want to get caught up and watch the video later. So we will be on YouTube and be on our Facebook page. We will be back November 30th. So that's the last Tuesday in November for our next coffee and conversation, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. again. So again, David, thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you all in a few weeks.
I will just thank you, and thank you to the Chamber and Dan for just being such great community support. And it takes a village, and so this is a pretty exciting village to work with. So thank you.
Great, thank you. So, all right, everyone, we will see you in a few weeks. Bye.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Jessica.